Hi, this is David Cantu, the founder and CEO of the Coaster Challenge Network and the executive producer of the Coaster Challenge podcast. On behalf of the entire Coaster Challenge podcast team, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you out there for your love and support these past 2 seasons. From our family to yours, we would want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Hi, I'm Brad Rex, the former Vice President for Disney's Epcot theme park, and you're listening to the Coaster Challenge podcast.
Hi there, I'm Lee Cockrell. I'm the former Executive Vice President of Walt Disney World, and Mickey Mouse was my boss. And you're listening to the Coaster Challenge podcast.
Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? Yes, I accept the Coaster Challenge. Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? Coaster Challenge podcast is here. It's time to face your fears. Get that theme park therapy and let us both your Coaster Challenge podcast is here. Your fear can disappear. We know that theme park therapy can dry up all your tears. Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? Yes, I accept the Coaster Challenge. Do you accept the Coaster Challenge? We accept because you know we're not average.
You're listening to the Coaster Challenge podcast. A journey where people become fearful to fearless, all from riding roller coasters. So please secure your hats and glasses and keep your hands and arms inside the podcast. It's time to accept the Coaster Challenge with your host, Kim Dykes.
Hello, everyone. This is Kim with the Coaster Challenge podcast, and today I'm talking with a very special guest. I'm delighted to sit down and talk with Billy McCluskey, a coaster enthusiast who is also an ambassador for the Coaster Kids organization and a regional representative for Thrills United. Welcome to the podcast, Billy.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. We've seen each other at several events over the past few years. Coaster Kids meetups, Hollywood Nights, and I remember we ran into you down at Carowinds back in 2019. We got to talk a bit more at Hollywood Nights this year, but still have a lot to learn about each other. Will you please share some things about yourself with our audience and me?
I myself have been a coaster enthusiast for a very long time. I'd say I got into it when I was about 8 years old, and I've just loved them ever since. And it's really been a big focus in my life, and it's one of my main hobbies along with sports. I play football. I'm a defensive end and a guard on my football team. And I really just, I like to be with people. I'm a very social person, and I'll do anything to make someone's day better. I just really, my main focus to just be a good person and help people out if I can.
Well, thank you for sharing that. You know, that's one of the things that stood out, not just about you, about the other kids that were involved in the Coaster Kids organization when we first came into it. It's just, you know, how you all were really there on a positive mission to change lives and help as many people as possible. And I remember you just mentioned, you know, that you got into this when you were eight years old. And I've had the privilege of sitting back, you know, through videos, through meetups, watching you guys grow up, you know, and mature from children to, you know, boys to young men. And you all have just grown and matured into fantastic people. And I can't wait to see what your future holds.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
So now we're going to go into the first part of our interview, which is kind of like the, you know, walk back through time as far as coasters go. That's what we like to start with on our podcast. I know you said that you've pretty much been a coaster since you were 8 years old. Thinking back to that time in your life, if you can remember, what was your very first coaster that you rode?
Well, I remember going to Kings Island with my cousins. I'd say this was before I ever really liked roller coasters. I went probably when I was 7 years old, and I really just didn't want to ride anything. I was terrified, but I thought that I should make myself look cool in front of my cousin because he's a lot older than me, and I just really wanted to look cool for him. So I went on backlot stunt coaster, and I hated it. I thought it was just so intense, and I really hated it. I didn't ride another roller coaster for a few years after that.
Wow. I can't believe that was your first coaster.
Yeah.
That's quite an intense coaster for your first ride. And
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting because your home park is Six Flags over Georgia.
Yeah.
But your first coaster was at Kings Island.
Well, the thing is, I was basically up in Ohio every month, and I still visit quite often. But I never went to Six Flags over Georgia until I'd say I was about probably 10 or 11. I went with a friend from school, and
Interesting.
still didn't ride anything. And I actually got very sick after riding one of the swing rides. I'm pretty sure it's like the DC Comics villain adventure or something at Over Georgia, and I had to leave right after that. But yeah, backlot was something for my first ride.
That thing still gives me a small gray out
It backs a
every
bunch.
time I ride it. So I can't imagine being a young child and riding that for the first time.
Yeah,
And kudos to you for getting back on coasters ever.
I'm shocked I did.
First ride. Well, it's definitely going to be interesting to hear the story later on as to how you got back into riding. So after you rode stunt coaster and eventually started getting back on coasters, what would you say is the one coaster that has scared you the most over the years?
This is an easy answer for me. It was actually in a Coaster Kids video. It was my first trip to Cedar Point, Top Thrill Dragster. I remember walking down the midway. The park closed in like 5 minutes, and we were walking down. It had been closed for I think a few weeks for getting a replacement part for the launch, and we saw it going. I was talking about it all day, how much I wanted to ride it, and we got up and I was just trembling. I was petrified, and I was very close to not riding it. But I'm really glad I did, because that coaster still in my top 5, I believe.
So can I ask, what year was that you rode Top Thrill Dragster? How old were you?
Oh, I'd say probably 12.
Okay, so this was about 4 years after Stunt Coaster.
Yes, this was this was after I was really into coasters. It was at a Coaster Kids meetup for Cedar Point. I believe it was it 2016 maybe, or 17? That's what.
When did you start riding coasters again after Stunt Coaster?
I can't pinpoint the exact year, but it was I would go often after I went with my friend. I really liked the park, but I just couldn't do the rides. And I'd go often with my dad, and I would just do the sky ride that just brings you across the park.
Yes.
We would just do that like 15 times in a day. And surprised he even wanted to do that with me. But one day after he came home from work, he convinced me to go ride Mindbender. And it took probably like an hour of me sitting in the station, just terrified. And then after that, I still wouldn't say that I really love coasters. We were walking out and we went and rode Scorcher. And I loved it so much. And right after that, I was like, oh, I need to ride everything else in this park. And yeah, the rest is history, basically.
Okay, cool. I know those Coaster Kids meetups definitely seem to have an impact on people that would motivate you to do things that you wouldn't normally do in another setting. I remember when my son went to that first meetup at Kings Island. He'd never been on Drop Tower. He'd never been on Windseeker. Hated Banshee the one time he's had ridden it. Swore he'd never ride again. And I was just completely shocked that he did everything in the park that day.
Yeah.
You know, things seem to happen. Good things seem to happen when you're in an environment like that. And then after you overcome the fear, it doesn't seem so scary anymore.
No, it's really great feeling.
I was like that on Top Thrill Dragster too. I was actually okay until I walked through the line queue and I actually got into seat.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the nerves set in.
Yeah, it's a really intimidating ride.
It didn't bother me. Like I was almost too calm until I got the seat.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I got at the seat, my hands were shaking something awful.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was going to make it. But, you know, after we did it, I wanted to do it again and again and again until I didn't feel scared. And then I felt okay putting my hands up.
Mm-hmm.
Then I knew it was all right. And I remember we went to Cedar Point. Well, he just actually came back about a week ago from our last Cedar Point visit, but we went last year. And I wanted to finish the night over at Still Vengeance. And my kids, they begrudgingly got me over to Top Thrill Dragster for night rides. I really wanted to go back over to Still Vengeance. And we wound up getting 6 night rides in a row that night.
Wow.
And looking at the situation this year, I'm glad we did it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if we're going to get to ride again or not.
I really hope we can.
Yeah, me too. I love that ride. At least I'm going to get to do Keen to Call here in another week and a half. We're going to take our East Coast trip.
It's amazing. I love that ride.
Before I get to go back to work. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so going back to that scariest ride, Top Thrill Dragster. How were you feeling when you approached the station for the first time?
I would say my nerves were even worse than when I was right in front of the ride. My dad, he was just as terrified as me, but he still had to calm me down. I was crying. Like I wasn't like loudly crying, but I had some tears flowing down, and I tried not to let anybody notice, but I was shaking like crazy, and I just couldn't see myself riding it. I was looking at it. I was like, I'm not doing this, but yeah, it was terrifying. I've never been so scared.
Very understandable. I don't know. When I went through the station, it was so weird. It was just like the calm before the storm. Like I said, when I sat down, that's when reality smacked me in the face. Yeah. And it's still one of those rides. Every single time you get on it, I don't care how many times you've ridden it. That nervous anticipation sets in a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit before that launch. So I know you said you were nervous, you were scared to death, you were crying before you got on the ride. How did you feel when you got off that coaster after the first ride?
That was one of the moments. I don't think I felt that. It was simply amazing. Like I was so happy. I felt like I made my dad proud because he was really trying to get me on. And it was like an experience that like I could never recreate. I can never really explain how amazing the ride experience was, and then how I felt after just getting off. I was jumping and stuff. It was simply amazing. Yeah.
I bet I was, as an adult, screaming out loud on the brake run, like, I did it, I actually did it. I can't imagine the joy of a young kid doing that for the first time. It's such a feeling of accomplishment, and that ride is so fast. For me, it's literally like it's like time stands still when you're on it.
Mhm.
You blink your eyes and it's over. It's like, did I actually just do that? Did that really just happen?
It's just that crazy. I love it.
Pinch yourself to see if it's real. So, would you say that it impacted your life after riding that coaster? And if so, what impacts has it had?
Um, I think it has gotten me to kind of broaden my sense of reality, that not everything is as bad as it seems. Uh, you really have one you have one outlook on everything, and when you're younger, obviously, you just think that everything is good or bad, and I feel like that was the moment where it just kind of split, just kind of showing that not everything is bad as it seems, and that scary things can be fun too, which
Yeah.
is not easy to think about as a young kid, but it really did kind of change my perspective on things. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've noticed that too, just in my own life through the process of conquering fear. Things in everyday life that used to seem like a big deal to me. You
Yeah.
know, times when you have to deal with confrontational people, or, times when you need to be assertive, things, and just times when you really need to be able to be confident. Before becoming an enthusiast and really challenging my fear threshold, there's lots of situations, I would just put my head down and back away,
Yeah.
And I was a big people pleaser too, lots of times, sacrificing myself
Mhm.
or others around me in the process of trying to keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting, one of those things that you notice after facing and overcoming fear is all of a sudden these little day-to-day things that used to be so scary are no longer scary anymore. I'm able to deal with difficult people and, deal with it well when I need to. And it, doesn't upset me or bother me anymore. I'm okay with saying no when I need to say no, to take care of myself and to take care of my family. And, if other people don't like the fact that I'm not doing what they've asked me to do, it just doesn't affect me like it used to. It's just these little everyday things.
Mhm.
It was the same with weight loss. It was in my mind.
Yeah.
Eating is just another thing your mind's telling you that you need to do.
Yeah.
And once I was able to overcome that, I'm like, you know what? If you can do this in this situation, you can do this in this too. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And it just applies across the board. It's just one of those things you don't realize it's happening until it happens.
Mhm.
And like I said, that's one of the reasons I'm on this podcast, is to help other people see too that overcoming fear can help your life in
It really can.
so many ways.
Yeah. Everything's just kind of like a mental game. Like it really, it shows what type of person you are. If everybody wants to do stuff if it's easy, or if it's just not scary, but it's the real people that can persevere and do what's they're afraid of and do what's right.
Absolutely. Okay, so thinking about all of the coasters that you've written, I mean, this can be a moment on a coaster, waiting in line for a coaster, or just, at a park with friends or whatever. What would you say is the craziest moment you've had on a coaster or in a theme park?
Ooh, that is a tough question. I think that there's probably two things I would pinpoint. Voyage at night, obviously during ERT, absolutely insane. And
That is second to none.
yeah, it's crazy. And Velocicoaster at night, actually.
Yes.
Like if I could use one word to describe that ride, it would be perfect. It's just there's nothing wrong with Velocicoaster. It's really insane. And Voyage is just completely out of control. It really feels like you're it's just I can't even explain it. It's so amazing.
I've told my friends that have not experienced Trimless Voyage that for me, it's what I call an out of body experience.
Yeah, it really
There's
is.
no other way to describe it, especially in that back row.
It's
You just
something else.
You don't know. There's just not many experiences like that.
You don't know how crazy it's going to be until you actually do it. Words can't describe how insane it is.
And I don't know if it was just me, but didn't it this year at Hollywood Nights seem like that thing was running even faster
It was maybe it was
than
that
it's ran before?
you could ride it more, but it was really gone crazy this year. It was amazing.
It was. I made a comment. I heard a few other people say the same thing. If it were going any faster, I really don't know how it would have stayed on the tracks.
Yeah, it was.
It
It's
was
amazing.
absolutely incredible. And I just hope, that each year that God blesses me with the body and the health
Yeah,
that will enable me to keep doing that, because that is just one of the events that I look forward to the most every year.
yeah.
So, what is your coaster count?
I'm at 171 as of now.
Okay, so out of that 171 coasters, what would you say is your favorite coaster?
Very similar to the last question. Probably neck and neck between Velocicoaster and Voyage, but I'd say Voyage has a slight advantage in my eyes.
Okay. You and I have very similar taste in coasters. My number one right now is Iron Quasi, but then number two is Voyage. And I just now bumped Still Vengeance back up over Velocicoaster, but Velocicoaster is number 4 right now, which who knows, by the time I ride Velocicoaster again, it might move back up.
Yeah. Crazy.
It's such a good ride.
It's perfect, like I said.
Okay, so on the flip side of that coin, out of the 171 coasters you've ridden, what would you say is your least favorite coaster?
Well, in my eyes, I try to enjoy every coaster I ride. That's what I've been trying to do when I was younger too, I always loved like rougher coasters because I thought it added kind of a spice to it, kind of a better experience. So I don't really have a least favorite coaster. Probably just some boring kiddie coaster, but that's about it.
Well, that's awesome. Because I know, for me, of course, I think a lot of it's age. My body doesn't respond to a lot of the older, rougher coasters like a 16-year-old body would, or 17-year-old. But, for me, I've got some one and dones. But I think it's great that you are able to find something to enjoy.
Yeah.
Out of every coaster. And one thing I've definitely learned through talking and interviewing so many people, different people definitely have a preference for different experiences, different courses, and a lot, different people enjoy different things. And that's one of the neat things about this hobby for me is there's no right or wrong answer for anything. There's only different experiences. And that's one of the reasons I love this is, just talking to people and learning how, one experience is different for me than for the other person. I find that very interesting. Okay, so you told me your coaster count is 171. Do you know how many theme parks you've been to?
That I have never kept count of. No, I have no idea, honestly.
Okay, that's fine. I just know with Coaster Kids, you all have been here, there, and everywhere. Some people count theme parks, some people count coasters, some people don't count either. Some people count both.
Mm-hmm.
Each their own on that one. So, out of the theme parks you've been to, what would you say is your favorite theme park that you visited?
I really love Kings Island just because, I mean, it feels more of a home park to me than Over Georgia, just because I go so much and I've had so many experiences there since I was a little kid. It's got a feeling that I can't describe. And then, I mean, for me, this is why I am always confused on my favorite coaster or my favorite theme park, is just because I see good in different things. Like, I really love Magic Kingdom. I have always really been intrigued by Disney parks, just how much money they're able to spend, how just magical the park feels. And it's just really just a happy place. And then Islands of Adventure, it's just simply, it is insane how amazing each ride is and how immersed you feel. And it's just really crazy how amazing that park is in my eyes. Yeah, it's amazing.
You named two right there that always come up when people ask me about theme parks. Kings Island, anytime I walk in that place, I get it. It's just that home away from home.
Yeah.
Even though we live 15 minutes from Kentucky Kingdom, I drive 2 hours to Kings Island to visit a lot more frequently than I do over to Kentucky Kingdom. Now, I grew up in Maysville, Kentucky. It's a little small town, a little over an hour from Kings Island. Oh. And my family went once a year in the summer. And it was literally like, the night before Santa Claus came when we were all going to Kings Island.
But you couldn't sleep?
No. But one thing that's interesting, and I don't even know how all of this came to be, is every year when we went, I never got to ride coasters when I was young. My whole family kept telling me they were scary. And, so that was a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Once I started riding, it was, when you're told something over and over and over again when you're a kid, it sticks in your brain.
Yeah, you just believe
it. It's in the subconscious. This is scary. I can't do this. And it was actually on a dare. My senior night, my high school senior class went to Kings Island. It was on a dare. Like the whole group was riding Vortex. And I was the only one that didn't want to ride. Yeah. Of course, I wasn't going to be the only one. 30 people standing there not going to do it. So, I finally did it. And once I rode that, I'm like, it was actually fun. What have I been waiting on? Maybe there's more to this.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, I started branching out a little bit, riding more. But, that was my experience growing up, was once a year. But, even with my kids, that's their place where they first started, learning to slowly, as I said, slowly but surely overcome fear, one ride at a time. All of our memories are there. And it's even like that now. Every time we go, it's impossible to show up at the park and not see people that Yeah. It's turned into, a place that's like family, family for us as well. And Islands of Adventure, oh my goodness. The first time we got to go was actually at a meetup for this podcast about last October. Wow. And I mean, Velocicoaster and everything, we liked it so much. We went back during spring break of this year.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those parks. You feel like you're just in another world.
Yeah.
And for me, the Seuss area, oh my goodness, I could just sit and just be. of the park. And, you know, it's just like such a little happy escape from the stresses of, you know, the real world.
Yeah.
You feel like you're just in another life when you're in that place, and it's magical.
Mm-hmm.
It just has a feeling and atmosphere like no other park I've ever been into.
Mm-hmm.
The rides, the dark, everything, the theming, it's like theming on steroids.
Yeah. It's
Throughout that entire park, every experience is so realistic. I remember even the dark rides, like the Harry Potter ride,
Harry Potter.
where you feel like you're flying.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly would say that I enjoy that more than Voyage. It's my favorite ride ever.
I came out of that thing, and I mean, nothing phases me. I'm so used to different forces and different things. I came out of that little dark ride feeling like everything around me was still spinning.
Mhm.
It was so realistic.
Yeah.
It's so subversive. I came out of there and I'm like, was that, you know, and you actually have to blink your eyes for a minute.
Yeah.
Was that actually fake, or did that actually just happen?
Yeah.
It took me about 5 or 10 minutes really to come out of that like spinning sensation, because I felt like it was so real. It felt like it was actually happening. Not ever had a dark ride encompass my entire sense of reality like that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a unique experience. So, talking about theme parks and coasters, what are some of your bucket list coasters and parks that you've yet to experience?
My number one bucket list coaster, it's been like this for a long time. It would definitely be Ijanika at Fuji Q Highland. I still haven't ridden a 40, well, I haven't ridden X2. And it's right up my alley. I really like rides that are just out of control and just extremely just fast and aggressive. And that ride really does just that. And for in the States, I would probably say like I-305. Again, just very intense, out of control. And I actually plan on going there sometime soon. My dad and I are probably going to take a trip up there.
I was actually just back on Intimidator 305 a couple of weeks ago. I actually had the unique experience of being able to ride Fury, Intimidator 305, Orion, and Maleficent all within a week of each other.
Wow.
So it was neat to actually be able to compare the four, you know, because when you ride things, you know, they're a long time apart from each other, it's kind of hard to, you know, rank or compare, because you got to really remember the experiences. And I actually rode Intimidator 305 last year for the first time. And I just remember not being totally over the top impressed with it. I thought it like had a fun drop, but I wasn't really getting the hype for it. But at that time too, I think part of the issue was I wasn't riding it right. Because, you know, part of really learning a coaster is knowing how to ride it and make the ride work, you know, make it enjoyable for you. And with those, you know, the restraints and my height last year, they were catching my neck a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was bothering me. And we went back this year. I'm like, you know what? I'm giving this ride another chance. And, you know, I've got to figure out where the hype is. Because if ever this many people say this coaster is this good, I've got to figure out what I'm doing wrong. So actually the park was dead the day we went. Deader than a doornail. I broke it up and I went around and did other things, but I got 32 rides on it the day that I went.
30?
Yeah. We did 4 in the morning. And then we went and did some other stuff. And then after lunch, I wound up by myself for a few hours. And there was literally nobody. So I went and rode 17 times and then went back and did some other things, and then came back after dinner, and Jay and I did some more.
That is insane.
It's crazy. Now it does for me. You do get at the bottom of the drop that the craziest gray out you'll ever see in your entire life. But one thing I figured out was to focus my eyes, just focus on the airtime hill right in front of me. Keep your eyes there, you know. And I would just blink and keep my eyes focused. And I knew the second I popped up on the airtime hill, vision would come back completely clear. And I figured out, you know, to keep my arms not just up, but out to my sides and throw myself hard with the laterals. Move with the ride. Don't let it throw me, move with it. And I did enjoy it tremendously. A lot more after that. I mean, it is very intense.
Yeah.
You have to stay hydrated. And it will tire you out.
Yeah, I bet.
But and that's one of the reasons I like Fury better, because Fury's just easier.
Graceful.
It's very graceful. And, you know, speaking of Fury, they did a rebuild on all the trains this year.
When? Really?
This year, yeah. It was developing a rattle last year.
Oh, is it gone?
And when we went this year, it's gone.
Wow.
That thing is running like brand new. I'm not kidding.
I did not know about that. That's amazing.
I didn't know. I asked McLean. I don't know if you know who the Fury guy is. Oh, he's got over 9,000 rides on Fury.
Oh, wow.
And we rode with him for a while the day we went. And I asked him, I said, what did they do? Because this was developing a noticeable rattle. The last time we were here, it's gone. And he's there, of course, like every day, riding for a while. And they've rebuilt the trains. He told me there's something specific. I don't know all the terminology. They did something with the wheel assembly or something. And it's completely reinvigorated that ride.
That's insane.
It's running better than I've never had rides on it that good.
Wow.
And when we rode the night rides, when we went this time, the trims weren't even hitting. It was glossy, smooth. It was incredible.
That's it. Wow. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
So gotta get
something to look forward to if you get back down. Okay, so now we're going to change the course of the interview a little bit. We're going to go with more away from questions about coasters and theme parks. We're going to talk more about things that pertain specifically to you.
Okay.
And this first question I have for you is regarding Coaster Kids. So tell me about your experience with Coaster Kids and Thrills United. Some things you could think about are, you know, like, what are some of your most memorable moments? What do you feel like you have accomplished, and or what do you still plan on accomplishing through being a part of it? How do you feel like you have impacted other people, and how has the whole experience impacted your life?
See, if I were to think about it, Coaster Kids has changed my life so much in so many ways. My favorite part about Coaster Kids and Thrills United is just how many friends I've been able to meet, how many people, and just amazing people that I've been able to meet in the community, and also help people overcome their fears and just help them have a fun day at the park, being with people that they possibly look up to. I didn't really know how big it can be to meet someone like me or Logan at a park until I went to some of those events recently, just to see how happy some of those people were to just be with us. Really just made me feel so amazing, and it really makes all of this worth it, doing the volunteering, the what is it called? The charity. Couldn't think of the word, but it I just really love helping people in any way as I can. As I said earlier, yeah, that's easily the best part. Just seeing people happy.
Well, and I can tell you the impacts you guys have had go further even than I think you see on the outside. I can speak from personal experience. My son, when he taught me into taking him to that first meetup in 2019, he was suicidal for over 6 months.
Oh.
It was so extreme, he couldn't be left alone anywhere. Had to be under constant watch 24/7. He was being bullied very heavily at school. He had no confidence, and I remember the first time we were at Kings Island and he actually saw you all coming. He actually got behind me and hid, Jay did. And he was afraid to come out and talk because he was afraid nobody would like him. And, just the interactions that he had that day.
Yeah.
Just, it was something he wasn't used to.
Yeah.
And I remember he met Tyler, and him and Tyler are still best of friends. They talk all the time. We still meet up with them several times a year. We're actually going to see them again over Labor Day weekend. But, one of the things that was really eye-opening for him after he met Tyler was, you know what? Tyler has autism like me, and all these kids like him. So maybe the people making fun of me are the ones with the problem and not me. It was just it was the first time he'd ever, in a long time, that he'd ever actually experienced acceptance. And, it was after that John invited us to a smaller meetup, and just slowly but surely, started networking, getting to know other people, getting to know other kids. And it's just made him so much more confident. And his life now has been forever transformed through the fact that you guys were, willing to take him under your wing, and really help him to see another version of himself that others at school were trying to convince him wasn't there. And, he's not the same kid now at all that he was back when he came to that first meetup. And, when he tells his own story, it all goes back to Coaster Kids. And I mean, it's the little things. I remember we were down there at Carowinds, I think it was in 2019, and we didn't even know you guys were there. We just ran into you all. And the fact that you all remembered him and actually knew his name, that meant the world to him. Because, when he was at school for a long time, and this is not the case anymore, hasn't been now for about 3 years. But, when he was at school, he was the kid that everybody pretty much treated like he wasn't there, or they didn't want him to be there. So just know that those impacts that you guys have had go far beyond the surface of what you see in the amusement park, because it literally saved my son's life.
I'm getting emotional. That means more than that is amazing to hear. I'm so glad. Wow.
And when he saw you guys at Hollywood Nights this year, he's like, Mom, said, I can talk to them. They're just other kids like me. And to see him just with that level of comfort. Around people that he used to think were on another level that he could never be. Really does my heart good.
Yeah,
to see him confident enough to actually talk and interact with you guys and not be afraid to be himself and feel like he belongs.
Mhm.
So it's impacted his entire life. I mean, he used to be one of these kids that he was a big people pleaser. He just wanted friends so badly. He didn't care who it was. It used to scare me because I didn't know who he would get involved with, or who might be able to manipulate him into getting in trouble just to be friends. And now he's got such a good head on his shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
He's very, he knows he doesn't need everybody to be his friends. He doesn't want everybody to be his friend. And he's a lot more, he's a lot pickier about who he wants in his circle, because he's seen through his experience with you all and your friends and different people that he's met what, positive influences are like. And he's been able to filter out who he wants to be around and who he wants to be influenced by and who he does not. And, Coaster Kids Foundation and, just all of the people you guys, and at the meetups and stuff helped him meet, have been a critical part in his development and overcoming what he was experiencing at that time.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for telling me that. That's great.
Absolutely. And that's a story I've shared with many people, but that's not a story I've gotten to share with you all today.
Yeah.
We have 2 more questions.
Okay.
Our next question is regarding advice you could give to people thinking about your experience through riding coasters, going to theme parks, overcoming fear, meeting and interacting with people through Coaster Kids, or, just life in general. What advice can you give to those who are listening that you think may be helpful in helping them face challenges that they're wanting to overcome in their own life?
Yeah. I think I would see there's just so many things that you can tell people, and a lot of the times you hear a quote and it just doesn't really stick with you. But what has really stuck with me that I heard, I think it was one of my coaches one time, is just be yourself, and you don't need to please people to be cool or anything. The people who really care about you and really truly love you will accept you for who you are, and just don't change for anybody. A lot of times a lot of people get bullied. A lot of people are bullies and everything.
Yes.
See, being like, obviously you don't want to be a bully, but being a bully, it just it's you trying to be someone that you aren't most of the time. You want to seem cooler for people and be a different person that you really shouldn't be. And people who are bullied, a lot of the times because of that, they think they need to change, be someone they aren't again. And you just really need to stay true to yourself, or a lot of the times it will really just mess you up. You gotta it's the same for sports, roller coasters. You just find your right crowd and you roll with it. You don't need to be popular. If you're not popular, that's okay. You have your people, and a lot of times it's hard to just focus on it's easy to hate who you are. It's harder to love yourself. A lot of people, I'd say most people don't really love who they are until you get to realize how many other people love you and how amazing of a person you are, it's really hard to see. But if you really put it into perspective, every single one of these people that would be listening to this podcast, they are loved, and they're just amazing people that deserve to be happy. And it's just you are loved. It's hard to see sometimes, but yeah, you are loved. That's what I would tell people. Just be yourself. You don't need to change for people, and just know that there's always somebody that has your back. And I know that everybody in this community they love helping people just like I do. And you can talk to any of the ambassadors if you need help, anything. We all care about you guys, and just know who you are. It's a really important thing to do, and just be true to yourself.
That is so very well said and so heartfelt. And, that's one of the things I've said many times. I'm a school teacher, and I tell students this. I've told my kids this so many times. Happy people do not go around trying to bring other people down. And, that's what I was bullied heavily through middle school and high school. And, it's people projecting their insecurities onto people that, they wish their life was more like in some way in order to make themselves feel better. It doesn't make the behavior okay, by any means.
No, it's not.
But it definitely puts a different perspective on it.
Yeah.
When you look at it through that lens, when somebody says something negative to you,
yeah,
you take it differently when you realize it's coming from insecurity. It's not coming from what's wrong with you. And so many kids really need to hear that message, and adults too. Like, now more than ever, there's so much pressure to fit in and be like the crowd.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the things as a parent, I worried myself to death, when my kids went to middle school, high school. And I tell my elementary schoolers this when they leave, elementary school. Don't let them change you. Do not let them change you. And I know it's easier said than done. But it's critical to everybody's individual personal development, to happiness and success in life, to stay who you are and not be what others expect you to be.
Yeah.
I even encountered that. And it's very unfortunate, but even from adults through the process of my weight loss.
Yeah.
When people saw, oh, she hasn't stopped. What? You're still going? It was okay with certain people for me to reach a certain weight or whatever. But then all of a sudden negative comments started coming out of the woodwork. You're going to get too skinny. You look sick. Stuff like that. And I didn't let it affect me.
Yeah.
Because I realized this is coming from an insecure standpoint.
Yeah.
And not a standpoint of confidence. Because happy, confident people are not going to tell other people that are bettering themselves and bettering their health these negative things. And I just went right ahead and pushed through and got to my goal. I didn't want it to stop me. And, it's unfortunate that you have to deal with that. But, before I got into coasters and like I said, facing fear and all of that, my old codependent, underconfident self probably would have thought, they're right. Can't do this. I shouldn't do this. And I probably would have quit.
Yeah.
So
that's when you find out who the real people are in your life, when you're trying to change yourself for the better. And
absolutely.
if someone messing with you,
Mhm.
giving you a hard time, there's going to be those people, but then there's also going to be the people that support you. And that's the people that you can stick with.
Absolutely.
It happened to me. When I switched schools back in 4th grade, and I knew absolutely nobody. And I had liked all this roller coaster stuff, and people thought it was really weird. But I eventually told myself, oh, I don't like roller coasters anymore. I don't need to do any of this stuff. And I really didn't like it. I knew that I still loved roller coasters, but I told people, oh, I'm over all that stuff. It's stupid. But
Mhm.
and then I really realized that if people don't like it, who cares? I really,
Yes.
I'm doing it for myself. I want to be happy, and roller coasters make me happy. And so I came true to myself, and I was like, I still really like roller coasters. And some people didn't like that, and it's really sad. Some of my best friends, honestly.
Yep.
But then I really found people that support me. And even though I have all this roller coaster stuff and everything, I still have some people that think it's weird. But then in high school, I'm a pretty popular person right now, even with all this stuff. And if I didn't come true to myself, I don't think I'd be where I am today. I really, it would be a shell of myself. And it really gave me a perspective that people there's always gonna be haters, always.
Yes.
People are just mean. A lot of people are just mean, but that doesn't mean you have to change. I'm in a great spot right now, even though I'm doing something that some people hate. And those people that hate it, so be it. Hate it. I'm gonna do my thing. So it's just really sad that has to happen to almost everybody, if not everybody.
Yep.
But it's really easy to succumb to it.
Yep. Absolutely.
But like I said, it's always better to stay true to yourself and to know who you really are.
I couldn't agree with you more. If I'm not happy mentally, physically, I don't feel good, I can't make anyone else happy. Everything else, everything around me suffers. My family, my classroom, it's just a domino effect. And, talk about people thinking it's weird. Here I am, a 46-year-old woman. I mean, how many people do I know in my day-to-day life, females in particular, that are into this crazy hobby of mine?
Mm-hmm.
And they see these posts of mine. She went and she rode Fury how many times? What in the world? But what's really interesting is, like, even where I work, people have really seen the change in my attitude, the fact that, I'm getting ready to start my 24th year of teaching, and I feel like I'm just starting year number 1. I'm refreshed. I mean, that's what I spend my summers doing. It's my stress relief. It's once I start the school year, I'm, revved up. I feel like new, and I'm ready to go again.
Yeah.
And for the long haul. But, they've seen such positive changes. I'm going into my 19th year at my school. I've been around, for a while. Everybody, even the ones that don't, quite get it, they started coming out of the woodwork, and asking questions, and a lot of questions. And even though they may not be totally their thing, I have a full support system now where I work, because it may not be what they want to do, but they're like, you know what? At first I thought you'd completely lost your mind, but now that they really see, how it's not just impacted me, but impacted me with the students in school, with other adults, with the whole 9 yards, they cheer me on. I mean, there's even one guy at school, every time he sees me, he's like, hey, there's Coaster Queen, and it's just become, my own thing, even at work. But it amazes me the number of people at first that thought it was weird and didn't really, didn't kind of know what to say to me. And now everybody's just behind me. They can't wait to hear about all my experiences when I come back from the summer. The students kind of know what I do. They love asking questions about the places I've been, the different coasters I've ridden. So it's really nice to not have, I guess, that weirdness around people that I used to experience. Yeah. But I get where you're coming from. It's like, my kids especially, they don't tell a lot of people, especially at school, like about what they do during the summers and on the weekends and stuff like that, because it very much would be viewed as, strange. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. They just don't share that information unless they find the need to do so. But that's one thing that's been nice too, with Jay getting a job over at Kentucky Kingdom. He's found a whole group over there. He calls it his Kentucky Kingdom family. They love, just hearing about all the trips and everything. And I mean, a lot of them aren't even enthusiasts. They're just people that work at the park. Yeah. But, he's found a whole other subgroup of friends over there that he can talk to about it, that really enjoy it, that don't, view it as an odd thing. Yeah. But very much like me, I know who to discuss that around and who not to. Yeah. Because some people are going to get tired of it real quick, but others are very supportive and love hearing about it. So that's always fun. Yeah. Okay. So our final question is regarding social media. Yeah. Where can people find you on social media? Where can they learn more about you? Where could they reach out if they, want to contact or talk to you or that sort of thing?
My main source of social media is definitely Instagram. It's Adventure Central. There's actually 2 underscores. So it's Adventure _ Central on Instagram. And then I have a YouTube channel, Speed Seekers. I haven't really used it much, and I don't really know if I'm going to use it, but there's that. And then I also very involved with Coaster Kids, so that would also be one of them.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today. I've really enjoyed this conversation and getting to know you better on a personal level. So thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you so much for letting me be on here.
It was an absolute honor and a privilege. Thank you again.
Pleasure's all mine.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to see more of us, we upload every Friday. And check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all at Coaster Challenge. Links are in the description below. Thanks for joining us here today.